I'd like to talk about abiding awakening. Abiding means it remains. Something's remaining. It always is. So awakening always is. What we are always is. But are we conscious of it? So it's going from being unconscious, being unaware of having the attention be placed elsewhere, and then having presence, what our true nature is, come to the foreground, right? It's in the background somewhere, and we become aware of it and we woo it and in meditation and in life, and we can sense it more and more. It's like this invitation of the beloved, the beloved of what is whole, our wholeness. We sense it, otherwise we wouldn't be seekers. We wouldn't go after it. So as it comes forward and starts to be able to integrate into one's life, everyday life, it not only during certain periods of time, certain moments, a nice meditation, some kind of something that makes you feel connected, being in nature, dancing, something that where your sense of aliveness of what's always whole and complete surfaces and reveals itself with these grace-filled moments, we say. So that's this kind of like this coming and losing. I got it, I lost it kind of experience that can happen with realization, with during the awakening journey. It certainly did for me. It wasn't all a one-shot thing, like boom, I would like to know what this enlightenment thing is that back then it was the word enlightenment. Now that's not so popular because enlightenment seems to have an end goal, like boom, that's the end, you're enlightened. Well, no, I like awakening, um, because it's a verb and it's more truthful. It's more truthful in the sense that it's ever ongoing and deepening. So when I first started to chase after myself, I was in my early 20s, very early 20s. And I didn't know really what I was doing. I was just kind of beginner's mind, innocent, which has its pluses. And because then you're not bringing a mountain of ideas right away that can, another thing to obscure reality as it is. And anyway, so it was more like something's here that is been forgotten. I could sense that. Something's here that's been forgotten, and there was still a taste of it enough to know that it was there. Because we wouldn't be going after something if we didn't have a sense of it already. It'd be like if there was some fruit on another planet that we had no idea about, we don't even think about it because we don't know it's there. So it's like that. This our true nature, what we are, this wholeness that lives here, that's undivided. It it calls us because it's the truth of things. And we've become divided over time and believing in our separation, that we're separate from reality, separate from life, separate at the core. That's where it really hurts. It's like, yeah, okay, we're separate parts, but at our core, we're also separate and separate from nature. And that causes the most disturbance. This is our home. To not know that we're one within our home is a real is an illness. It's a virus, and it super painful, causes a lot of anxiety. So we go after this search for ourselves, right? And however you're doing it, or however you've been doing it, and and there's comes a period of time where it comes in this fits and starts where you it this the it what is always here comes to the foreground from the background, and it's suddenly here, and we have these moments of dropping into truth, into what what this really is, what we really are, and it feels so good. It can it feels like a shift. It is a shift in consciousness. And because of the contrast, there's such a, there can be either it comes really slow, so there's not so much contrast, or it's such a boom, a different moment, where you're suddenly feeling wholeness, you're feeling one with, and not the separation. And the contrast can make it seem like there's a big aha, big awakening experience. And I certainly had many of those comings and goings. I've got it, I've lost it. And so I've got it makes you want to have it forever. I lost it hurts tremendously, right? And it's like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? I want it back. And we kind of energetically claw our way back to a previous moment versus what really is being called for is to relax and just lean back into ourselves and remember that truth is always here. Is it really lost? Is excuse me, is what we are still here? Is it true that presence is here, not here right now? It's a nice question. Is it true that presence is not here right now? So you kind of lean back and do a little quarter turn and look energetically. And of course it's here right now. It's been obscured again by, some people call it Maya, but it's consciousness that is again lost in content. And the content is not only on the outside, the content lives within. And so there's some noisy content in here, right? Denied aspects, pain, body, all that stuff that I talk a lot about that wants to be integrated, right? But that it veils reality again, but it doesn't fully veil it. So again, you lean back energetically because leaning back helps pull in the energy that's outward leaning, that's lost in the world. Okay. And that's the path of all yogis, all spiritual traditions is look within, right? Always pointing, look within, which means pull back from the world, stay home here, and look. Let's see, look, look what is always here. Has it really gone anywhere? It's been with you always, and it's still here, right? And it might just be a thin whisper, but when you put your attention on it, it comes from the background into the foreground and it leans forward again. We makes the shift, and there's awareness, there's truth, there's wholeness, all up once again present, and consciousness is able to not be lost in veils obscuring it. So when you do that enough times over time, I mean, sometimes some beings have had radical shifts of awakening and it's just boom, done deal. But then there's an integration process. It's never ever fully done because always the mind, body has and psyche has to integrate. But this kind of, I've got it, I've lost it. It's here, it's not here. It's here, it's not here. It's also training. What could be good about it? It's training our system to be able to trust and let go and open to something that's so different because it's our true nature, it's our birthright, it's natural, but it's so different from how we've been living, which is this collective unconscious, buying into the collective unconscious of believing that we're an object in awareness. We're not just the subject, we're an object. We've turned ourselves into objects, meaning we feel deeply separate within ourselves, not just everything is made of separate parts, right? But we have made ourselves separate, which is where the big misunderstanding and the pain lives. And that is how we of course, we're going to see the world is through the same experience that we have, we're going to see the world. So as awareness, consciousness, whatever words, don't get hung up on words. That's going up here in the mind. That's doing an intellectual trip. Don't get hung up on words as much as you can, okay? That's why I shift around words all the time because we're meant to become dehypnotized of everything, including believing in the solidity of a word that we've breathed life into words. We breathe life into things. It's our beliefs. They become our beliefs. So presence, awareness, consciousness, that um, true nature, being. Oh, just know it for yourself. Forget the labels. Know it for yourself what it is. And know it for yourself what it feels like. And that's why I say the felt sense of presence, not just an abstract, awareness, nice, open, spacious awareness. It's nice, but then feel into it. It also has a felt sense because we are feeling, sensing beings. And so we can feel into it. And we're meant to so that it can be really lived here. So it doesn't just go poof and fade away with ether and air, but it gets embodied. Okay, so the felt sense. So you sense into presence, and as it moves more and more forward, and it finally eventually clicks in, and we've had a period of time, if it's been this back and forth kind of thing, as it was for me for many years. Um, and I just want to say I enjoyed the process. It doesn't have to be, oh, I got it and lost it. Oh, it's enjoy it when you sense it and feel and see if you can feel invigorated. See if you can feel like I'm on track. This is the proof. It exists. It's real. So this connection to source and living and having that live here within and awake to itself is a real thing. And so let it bring some enthusiasm and some I don't know, just trust that that this is real. I'm on track. And with rather than the opposite, oh, I lost it. I've got to do, what am I doing wrong? I've been hitting my head on the spiritual wall forever. And I want to crack my skull open so I can realize, it's actually, it's not by hitting your head on the wall that it wants to, it's able to become abiding, which means it's ever present in a conscious way. It's by putting your attention on it, loving it. It's a love affair, remember, loving it, constantly returning back. It's just like training anything. You want some strong muscles, you know. You got to do training, which, I don't really do. But it's the same thing. You want to be healthy, you got to eat well. It's the same thing. You got to put attention on it and repeat and return back to source in the way that works for you. Okay? And have it be something that is effective, that you really feel it and sense it. And if you don't, then you need a different practice because it should be producing results to where you actually are able to open to the undivided state in moments, okay? And then those moments grow into a stream, drops of moments go into a stream. So the stream is happening and the foreground, it comes to the foreground and then it becomes ever present and more and more abiding, okay? And it's here now. Is it here now? Can I still feel it? Is it here now when I'm doing dishes? Is it here now when I'm talking? Is it here now when I'm walking my dog? Is it here now when I'm having a difficult moment? So then it gets more nitty gritty. So it ups the ante, right? The razor's edge of truth. Is it here now when I'm feeling sad and a bit discouraged in life? And so it starts to penetrate more density, the thicker and thicker of the content. It starts to penetrate. So it's not just awake mind, that's wonderful. And sometime I'm going to make a video on that. But it's penetrating the density of the body and all these layers. Okay, so that it's awake through and through. And that takes some years. It's like it wants to be put through the test. It gets put, it's like shakes, like earthquakes of, something sad, really awful happens, can happen. Health crisis, a death, whatever it is, as these things happen, these rumblings and these shakings and these seismic activity, is it here now? And indeed, when it's really, really, really sunk down deep, the understanding that truth is here now always. It's always here, whether it's a feeling of emptiness or the feeling of unity, because there are different types of understandings that I speak about, right? The mind awakening, awareness waking up to itself, that's going to feel more empty. Heart waking up and coming on board, unity, feeling the interconnection of all things. Is it here now? Right? And it's not an intellectual understanding. It's it's known. It becomes to where it's unshakable. That's in the end where it's headed, okay? Where truth is living life and the separate self sense, and that separate self is seen through fully, and it even through in the body where there's been memory and past holdings, because the body holds a lot, it's known through that the undivided state, what's undivided, the truth of wholeness is known, and that where that is known throughout all experiences. And does that mean that you won't be tested over time? Again, tested, I'm not saying, oh, God comes in and says, we need a test. It's more that life happens and it's tested, you know, and because the stratas of our being is vast, and truth wants to really saturate till our final breath. There's a little light here. The sun, this is morning. This is morning here. So truth wants to be known throughout all experiences. And if we're lucky enough to be present, not cloaked or unconscious or, in some way, or a terrible accident in our death, it wants to be known to the last breath that this is this is one great whole. And the truth is that, is it here now? That kind of checking, it disappears by then. It's way disappeared. It's just known, and it's living. Life is living itself, and it knows itself as an individual, you know, configuration. And that dog Nala, who's licking her paw out because she has some allergies, she's her own configuration, but she's not lost in separation. And this one here is not lost in separation, believing it anymore. In fact, this one here, I don't call myself that. I can easily use language. Um, is there's no center of consciousness anymore where there's a separate self sense and feeling like a person. That disappears, right? That's the whole point, is that we function, and even the language creates separation. We, I, blah, blah, blah. Function without, and it seems like there's a separate self here. It seems like there's a person here, all good and well. But in truth, it's empty at its core. And that's the realization that everything's empty. We all know that, scientifically heard it. And so then, once again, emptiness, the center within all objects, everything created, any animal, every thing of nature, everything of matter, all matter, which means mother, all matter is empty at its center. It's made of a bunch of atoms, and it's in its center. It's just there's more emptiness than form. And so that, for some reason, that wakes up to itself. That's what's so cool about all this. And then the form is able to live out its nature in a natural way and live here and do this thing, even this human thing with feelings and emotions and everything, without there being a feeler, a separate self that is experiencing it all. The experiencer falls away. There's just experiencing. And it seems so contradictory. It's a paradox. That's all what awakening realization is, the resolution of paradox throughout, over and over and over again. How can there be a feeler? How can there be a thinker? All this stuff. How can all that happen without actually having a separate self there? There's just, you got to change the language. There's thinking happening. There's feeling happening. There's grieving happening. And guess what? Animals grieve. They feel, I don't know about thinking, but regardless, there's a certain human makeup that has these kind of natural ways of expressing. A tree is treeing, a human is humaning, but there doesn't need to be a center to consciousness that believes that it's separately doing all this. And that's really the truth of what realization is about. And it goes through and through until it becomes abiding. And then it is not, the unshakableness so far, at least here, is consistent. I don't know. I mean, there's no I to wonder if it will ever not be consistent. Truly. So so that's the difference between abiding and this kind of I've got it, I've lost it. And see if you can kind of change your feeling about when it ebbs, and just kind of lean back and see, is it still here now? And what it's wanting to be able to be integrated more deeply into this now moment without and be conscious. And so it wants us to do us, it wants effort. It wants some effort to lean back and feel into it without grabbing and grasping, which just anything like that, any controlling pushes things away. It's more of a trusting and sensing and feeling and acknowledging. Okay? And eventually it does become abiding. And it has trained us over time to trust that it's safe to let go, because much of this is about relaxing and letting go into this that we are, because it's the most natural thing. Okay, warm wishes to you. I wish you well. I'm going to go take my dog out for a walk. And remember that this is all about remembering your true nature and to give yourself to it. It's all about loving what we are in truth.